We are now live. Super excited to be here, to be connecting with everybody. And yeah, we're here for an end of year group reflection session. For anybody watching, I'm just going to add a small trigger warning in case, for anybody who might not know, Shushbox is a platform supporting survivors of sexual violence. So some of the topics will be in relation to this, with a focus on healing, community, and yeah, just meeting some of these amazing people that we've got joining us from literally all over the place, all over the world, lots of different time zones. So I thought we could start with like a quick round of introductions. I'm happy to go first. So my name is Sunita, for anyone who doesn't know, and I am the founder of Shushbox, which is a digital platform supporting women who have experienced sexual violence. This is something that has affected me personally, it's affected women close to me, and yeah, I've had that experience of basically feeling like silenced and that shame around talking about or just even acknowledging anything kind of happened. So that's why I kind of started Shushbox, to have more of these conversations and meet people like yourselves, and yeah, just let people know that they're not alone in what they're going through, and there's a lot of power in community and yeah, finding our voices and using them. So that is me. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Yeah.
Dive right in. I'm Gena. I am based in Melbourne, and I am a survivor of sexual, narcissistic, and what's the other one? Domestic violence. I came out publicly with my story this year in July, and it was extremely traumatic and overwhelming. However, I realised I didn't have anyone online to be able to connect with, or to ask questions, or to be able to ask anyone else their experience to help me. So in the midst of our, I guess, lockdown here in Melbourne this year, I created the Thriver Project. And it's basically just bringing awareness and advocating for other survivors to ensure that survivors of sexual violence don't feel alone. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I'll go. Can you guys hear me? Can y'all ladies hear me? Okay. My name is Betsy Perez, and I'm here in New York City. I was born in the Dominican Republic, was raised in the Boogie Down Bronx, and I created Papaya Om with the intention of supporting women who have experienced childhood sexual abuse and supporting them in becoming sexually educated, becoming like the sexually educated adult that our inner children needed at the time, and to also be that a foundation so that we can continue to have the intimate lives and sexual experiences that we deserve. And I use a holistic method and writing as well. So yeah, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you.
Thank you, Betsy.
I can go next. First of all, Sunita, thank you for doing this. This is so cool. I just said to my roomie, like, I'm gonna have a phone call with 6 other people. I don't know them, and they live all around the world. And it's evening here. It's 9:30, a little later. It's crazy, right, that we do this, but it's super cool. So thank you very much. My name is Eva, and I posted that I was sexually abused in August. I posted it in August, and it was 10 years ago at that time. And that's how I met a lot of people telling me that they experienced the same. I'm from the Netherlands, by the way. And I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? Because this made me feel so powerful to know that there's a lot of other people like me, and from that moment on, I decided to speak about it, and that's what I do. So I don't have an Instagram focused on this subject. However, I do think about it, but then in Dutch, because there's nothing in Dutch yet. So yeah, that's where I am.
Amazing. Thank you, Eva.
Hi, we'll go next, me and Duneshka. So I'm Caitlin. I'm a student at Penn State University, getting my master's in anthropology, and I majored in archaeology and women's studies. So Duneshka and I started Taking Me Back about 2 years ago for a class project for one of our women's studies classes. Our initial purpose was to shed light on the aftermath of sexual assault and its impact on survivors. So we created a survey where survivors could share their stories anonymously. So far, we've received almost 400 responses to our survey. And our survey now includes more questions about survivors' recovery process, such as about coping mechanisms and who survivors first confided in, because that's a really important factor in their recovery. So yeah, we quickly realized that the support of the online community is really great, and by helping others, we learned a lot about our own healing journey. I'll let Duneshka say some stuff now.
Hi everyone, my name is Suneshka. Like Caitlin, I'm also a student at Penn State. I'm getting a bachelor's degree in biological anthropology and then a minor in psychology. So I was with her when we started this page, and as we've expanded, we kind of wanted to shift the focus of our account beyond just the aftermath of sexual assault in college students. So we work to actively combat rape culture along with supporting all sexual assault survivors throughout their healing journey. And we overall aim to create a safe space where both survivors and allies can come learn, get involved, and show their support.
Amazing. Thank you.
I can go. I'm Chani. I'm in London. Yeah, I was also like a victim of abuse as a child and as an adult, and probably some other times as well at some point. So I basically just put all my journal entries and poems into a book, which then kind of as a side effect of that was it created its own online community without me kind of doing it on purpose. And since then, obviously, you know, like attracts like, so I met a lot of other survivors and started leading workshops, teaching other people how they can use writing as a coping mechanism to process things that have happened to them. Not just like sexual abuse and things, but like all kinds of issues. It's kind of branched out just as like general coping mechanisms through creativity. But yeah, that's what I do. I'm a writer.
I can go. Hi, my name is Sophie. I'm the founder of A Path to Courage, which I created actually in August of 2020, or April of 2020. So this past year. And I'm 18, turning 19, so I'm pretty young, but I had like a big dream of kind of starting a grassroots organization, which I ended up doing. And kind of like my mission, my personal mission and A Path to Courage mission is to just broaden the awareness factor around sexual assault awareness and like violent and domestic violence as well. I personally am a domestic violence and sexual assault survivor. So I kind of created this platform just to be able to obviously interact with amazing other women like you guys and to just spread more awareness and possibly like expand into something bigger. So yeah.
That's so awesome. My name's Madi, and I started Reclaim Me, which is a podcast. I'm coming from Melbourne as well, in Australia. And I started Reclaim Me, the podcast. And basically, I share my story, and I'm interviewing other survivors to give them a platform to tell their story from start to finish. So the whole purpose of Reclaim Me is to give victims of domestic violence, sexual violence, child abuse, a platform to have their voice back and to reclaim their own steps back in life again, reclaim their voice and reclaim the narrative of their story. That's the purpose of that.
Amazing. Oh, is that everybody? Yes, I think so. Thank you so much. Yeah, great introduction and so much inspiring work that literally everybody is doing. And yeah, it's just so inspiring to actually connect with you all. I've been following like all of you for like the last 6 months, and it's just, yeah, so nice to like meet people working within the space and just having that feeling of knowing that there are other people out there and yeah, not feeling alone. So yeah, thank you for all the introductions. So we have got some attendees as well who have joined that I can see, and I know we spoke about some questions that we were going to go over. So the format is we're just going to go over those questions, but if anybody has questions, obviously who's watching, I think there's a Q&A. I'm not the best at Zoom, but there is a Q&A function. I'm not sure how it works, but I think if someone puts a question in there, we should be able to see it. So at any time, any questions, feel free to obviously chip in, chime in whenever you want. It's an open conversation, it's a safe space, survivor-led. So yeah, we're all here to just connect, reflect, and yeah, just share some of our insights, I guess. So one of the first questions I thought we could look at is, with it being the holidays, and yeah, I just think with everything that's been happening with the world this year, I thought we could maybe just start with like triggers, maybe dealing with triggers, any tips or advice that anyone might have around triggers. I know for myself, like the holidays can just be quite a triggering time in general. So yeah, maybe if we want to start there, if anyone has any thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been very triggered. I had post-traumatic stress disorder for a very long time, and there would always be things that would happen, and I could never deal very well with that. And then through the years, I've developed my own things, and I really love music. And even recently, the other day, I was sitting with somebody and they said something, and I just went, oh shit, like I'm not feeling too good right now. So I literally just pop my AirPods in, go for a walk, and listen to this this playlist, which is all of these survivor songs. So it's this playlist called Songs for Survivors. It's all of these badass songs. I'll post the link to it. It's really good, and that for me grounds me, because you kind of walk out of it feeling like you can conquer the world. It's like you walk down the street and pretend that you're in a little bit of a music video. You go,
I love that. I do that all the time. I've got Spotify, and I think it's called like Bad Bitch Energy.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so great. It just puts you in that zone, doesn't it? Where like,
It
no,
does.
mess with me.
Yeah, it rezones you, I think. And it's okay to acknowledge when you feel like shit. And you need to be okay with that, just to get it out, and then to figure out what steps can I take now to make myself feel a little bit more safe.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I definitely use music as like just to get yourself in that zone. And sometimes the different emotions as well. So sometimes I use music to like hype me up a little bit. But then, you know, obviously when you're having different emotions and stuff, like I just feel like music's really powerful.
I could go next. So I was recently diagnosed with complex PTSD. So, you know, it's been a journey for me trying to figure out how to deal with my triggers. I think it's important to take note of what your specific triggers are so you can be aware of them. For me, that's been like, it's made it easier to avoid certain triggering situations and just, you know, remove myself from that entirely. This isn't always possible, but, you know, just being aware of like certain specific things that you know tend to bother you. And also letting the people know that are close to me, like what my specific triggers are, has been helpful, so they can look out too. So that's just been something that's been like good for me to do.
I actually agree with that. Oh, were you going to talk, Betsy? Do you want to go?
No, go ahead, Mama. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Just going to say I agree with that, because I was thinking about this question and I was like, I don't really have a solution. Like I have a lot of triggers, and I just kind of go with them sometimes. Like I'm not always sure. Like I know things, like of course straight away if I'm at home and I get triggered, I know I'll write about it and do these things. But sometimes when you're actually in the moment, like maybe in a social setting or in public, it's a bit more difficult to navigate the situation. But I like what you said about telling people that are close to you what your triggers are, because it does help so much when everyone that's in your life kind of understands it. I mean, for me, I find this time of year hell, because, not to like go into too much detail, but I was disowned from my family for my child abuse. So I have like one family member left on that side of the family. So like I work in salons in my day job. So all of my clients are like, where are you going for Christmas? Like 10 times a day. You're like, oh, I don't know. Like, so I find that stressful, but I just learned how to sort of change the subject. Or my therapist just told me, like, think of things to say back to people is always a good thing. Like when you have a triggering question that you know is a common question, like think of a pre-prepared answer to just close the conversation. And also to like start your own traditions this time of year that don't center around like people maybe you've let go of. But yeah, Betsy, you go.
No, everything that you're saying is just hitting. It's just like sitting with me in so many ways, and definitely the PTSD and the complex PTSD that I didn't even know was an association for me. I just thought that you get abused, and because a lot of it happened in my childhood, and of course it led to victimization as an adult in many ways. I didn't understand that my body is even hurt, or that is even an injury. So I resonated with a lot of what y'all are saying. And for me, I had to, like you, Chani, kind of go with triggers, right? And I tend to oftentimes use like a harm reduction approach for myself, where I may see someone in my family that has caused harm, and I have friends who I have in the past, definitely not this year, but in the past I've gone to their families' homes where I know who has caused them sexual harm. So it's sometimes, okay, I'm only going to be here 30 minutes or an hour. Sometimes you're not going to be able to avoid that family member or that community member, unfortunately. So I give myself a time limit, like I'm going to be here for a half an hour. Or sometimes I would make sure to bring my notebook and my pen, so that if something does kind of like go a little bit astray, I'll find like myself in the bathroom and just like write it out and stuff. So I know that for me, because I know I'm gonna go to the old neighborhood, I'm gonna go to that house. I just sometimes give myself a time limit, or I'll bring something that soothes me, like an oil or like a figurine of some sort. So that for me also helps to step into the space, even though I know, just to reduce the harm. There may be some harm done. I may not be able to kind of avoid it, but how can I reduce it and make it less?
Yeah, that's another amazing one. We've had a comment actually as well. Somebody has mentioned the Nagoski sisters book Burnout. I don't know if anybody's read that, but apparently that is discusses completing the stress cycle. So yeah, we'll check that out.
Just to jump in quickly, I was going to say another thing that helps me deal with my triggers like Madi is music as well. I go on a lot of walks because I live in, sunny California. So we have really great weather over here. So I'm always like, I go on a lot of strolls and walks, and I bring my earbuds and I just tune everything else out and just walk and just not think about anything. But I also realized that like in that process, I also had to let myself like feel my emotions and try to like stop pushing them all down all the time. So I've started to tap into more of my like emotional side and just like let myself like feel. Like if I want to cry, I'll just cry now. Like I won't try to like cover it up anymore, because that took a lot more, I feel like, negative energy than it was supposed to. So yeah, just like being myself is something that like was super important in like dealing with my triggers.
Yeah,
I
that's
agree.
so true.
Yeah,
So true.
that's a huge one. I've worked in the fitness industry in leadership and personal training roles for the last decade. So I'm very much about integrative health, and I'm about prevention. So for me, when I started to hear the word trigger, I was like, what's that? So I was going to therapy, and she taught me ways to be able to overcome those moments. So being someone who was brought up as like a very strict Jehovah's Witness, we were taught never to question anything. So my therapist encouraged me to, when I start to feel those feelings in the body of feeling triggered, just to question, what is it that is triggering me right now? And asking that question, and then kind of unpeeling the onion as to where that came from. And then later on, journaling it and writing down where that came from. Because if you can start to understand where your triggers come from, then it's easier for you to overcome them with time. And then if you team that up with also going to therapy, then you're able to also have the tools and resources to be able to alleviate at least a few of them anyway. So that's something that really helped for me. Also, this book, this isn't an ad, by the way. This book is called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and it is massive on PTSD, excuse me, and trauma in the body. So it's a huge, huge background in research to be able to help you to figure out how it actually forms, and how the trauma sits in your body with the mind-body connection as well. So I recommend that book.
Amazing. I love, I think learning as well, you know, like you say, find different books. Yeah, I love good book recommendations. So I'm going to check that one out. Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
I think just for me as well, it's giving yourself that time. For me, I'm always being consumed with helping everybody else. And when I was triggered or something like that, I felt bad about it because I was taking away potentially from someone else. So I think it's giving yourself space to feel how you want to feel or how you need to feel. So whatever that method is, whatever you need to do, whatever you can do, is really important for you to do for you, because you're the most important person in your life. And I think that was really important for me to kind of to sit there and go, oh, I need to do this for me now, because I'm not going to be very good to anyone else unless I start to get myself on track. So it's giving yourself, that space to go, okay, it's about me now, and to not feel guilty about that.
Yeah, I think that is such an important, it can actually go on to our next question a little bit, which is going to be talking about the greatest lesson you've learned in your healing journey. And I feel like for me, taking care of myself basically, and taking that self-care without feeling guilty, setting boundaries and just listening, going back to what Sophie was saying, you know, just allowing your emotions, just letting yourself be how you want to be and honoring how you feel. So I think self-care, looking after you first, and that's been something I've learned recently, actually, just learning how to set boundaries. I feel like, and it's not like I know perfectly how to do it now, but I'm practicing it more and learning to say no to things that don't actually make me feel good, or when I need to just be at home meditating or not doing anything, not feeling guilty for not doing anything, you know, just giving your body and your mind that time to just be and relax.
Yeah, I think for me, I've learned that in no way is healing linear. We all say it, we all know that, but it's very true. And it's sometimes hard to you know that healing's not linear, but sometimes you still get upset with yourself whenever you've been good for a while, and then all of a sudden everything's bad again and all your triggers are really acting up. So it's just like, for me, I've learned that I need to accept that I'm not healed. I'm in the process of healing, and that's okay. And kind of what Madi was saying, during those times when I'm feeling like extra triggered and things are just getting to me more than usual, especially during this past year, it's been important for me to step back from taking me back, step back from the account, because sometimes I feel like if I'm not in the right headspace, I'm just not being as helpful as I could be to other people. And normally the account does so much like good for me, and sometimes when it's more triggering to read other people's stories, that's not good for myself. So it's just important to like take care of yourself and prioritize yourself sometimes too. So
that's such a good point to make. And I feel like, you know, running Shushbox as well, sometimes I feel that way. It's like you want to be doing, you know, you're on a healing journey yourself, like you say, so you're doing all this work to heal, but you're still healing too. And yeah, just listening to your emotions and taking that time out when you need to.
Yeah, definitely. And I work for a government department in Australia, and I'm really lucky that I've received a lot of trauma-informed training. So I do have to read a lot of things that are quite difficult to read, and I've been really lucky, especially to learn about vicarious trauma. But I think with running any of these accounts, I think we all know as well, we get a lot of messages about people telling us their stories, or and it's so wonderful. And it's so overwhelming that somebody would share their deepest, darkest secrets with you as well. But there are those days where it really gets to you as well, where your heart just breaks and you can't deal with it. And you go, I just need to put my phone away. I need to do a few things to get my mind off it, focus on me. Could be a workout, could be listening to another podcast, watching a movie, whatever that might be, just so that we can be in the better headspace to not be reactive to that, to be proactive with that as well.
One of the biggest lessons that I've learned, it's really two, but I think that they inform each other. One, that you may not get that apology, you may not get that court proceeding, and still, right? When I realized, fuck, this is on me, you know, like my future and the way that I want to feel and live and be, it's on me. It sucks that I may not get the apology from my guardians or from whoever, or the forgiveness or whatever. And it's like, how do I forgive myself for not knowing, right? And that it's okay, because, you know, I definitely felt guilty about, you know, my own re-victimizations and not knowing that, you know, I was following patterns that were already underlining and subconscious, and that no one really gave me the mentorship or the, you know, the nurturing that I needed after the kind of harms that I experienced, these relational harms. And with that, coupled with that sex can be medicine, and it can be healing, and that, you know, although I had a string of dysregulated ass relationships in my process, that the lovers that I have, right, they wanted to be supportive, they just did not know how, and I didn't know how either, or that it was even possible for my lover to be part of my recovery and my restoration. So learning how to incorporate my lover into my healing was such a huge part of like the lesson that I have learned in the last 10 years, you know, and it has really, really gave me hope, right, in having a fruitful and nourishing relationship in the future, which, you know, we all deserve, right? So those were like two of the lessons that were huge for me, that really helped me in being where I am today.
First of all, Betsy, you're reading my mind. Like, you just said everything that I've been thinking. But also, one of the biggest lessons that I've kind of had more recently is like, it was actually not, okay, no, it was a lesson, but like it was more of a shock at first. It sounded like a bad thing, but then it wasn't. It's like being healed, I don't actually believe is real. And that's something I'm like, oh, did she just say that? Like, how can you come on here and say, like, you're not supposed to say that? I even said it to my boyfriend and he was like, why are you saying that? I'm like, no, it's because healing is ongoing forever. And I feel like for a lot of like the start, when I was sort of like thinking that I was doing the right thing and doing all the wrong things when I was like 18, I'm 28 now, was like, instead of just trying to work with what's happening and think, okay, how do I navigate this and how do I take this thing that's never going to go away that's happened to me and work around it, I was trying to make it disappear and try to live in a way like it never happened. And like for me, that's what healing meant. It was like, I want to be normal like everybody else and pretend this isn't part of my life. Whereas now, I think as everyone on this panel, we've kind of found a way to do something with the fact that this happened to us. And it just makes me really happy to see somebody like Sophie here. You said you're like 18, 19. It's like, I feel like if we're learning and teaching each other how to work this horrible things that we've experienced into our life and kind of walk forward with it, people are going to get their voices younger and younger, because it might seem like, okay, abuse can never end because there's just crazy people everywhere. However, the sooner people learn how to speak out about it, younger and younger, there's a knock-on effect. So I think hopefully people will see you, Sophie, at your age and be like, oh, and they're going to get a voice, and then maybe their younger sisters or brothers or whoever are going to be 11, 10, 9, 8, and it just makes me really happy to see you here, because like, I think we're a big vary of ages here, but I know there's probably someone here looking at me like, oh, I wish when I was your age, and I'm looking at you 10 years younger than me like, oh, but when I was your age, I was a mess. So yeah, I think I said all of that to say that I don't really know where I am anymore, but you got what I'm talking about. I've lost my train of thought, but yeah, that was the biggest lesson that I've learned. Is like, we're never really going to be healed, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a healing journey, isn't it? And it's like choosing a lifestyle. It's like different lifestyle choices for healing. It's not, for me, I'm still saying I'm healing. It's not like I'm at the end of healing. It's, yeah, changing my lifestyle habits, like you were just saying there, Chani. 10 years ago, I was also like doing all these crazy things and pretending I was normal, or, you know, trying to fit in and just like pretend nothing had happened. And yeah, it's a journey, and I feel like it's an ongoing just learning new ways of being and learning new ways of dealing with things, and yeah, ongoing.
I think as well, like when you're not addressing it, like what is healing? What does that mean? It means so many different things to other people. Like healing or being healed might be feeling safe again in some circumstances. But when I don't think yeah, you're right. It's, you don't ever feel healed, and unless in the sense of what it means to you and yourself. And I think that, yeah, I think when we talk about it and we think about it, when we don't address healing, or we're trying to push it aside and we're not doing anything with it, that's when those other behaviors start, where we go, I'm just going to drink myself to oblivion because that's the only way that I can forget about it. And that's the only way that I can actually make it not a part of my life, kind of thing. So it is important to at least address it, but ask yourself, what is healing to you? Not what is healing in general. And I think that's really cool to go, I just have a goal to reach here, and my goal might be really, really small. My goal might be to go to, you know, the shopping center without feeling terrified and looking behind my back. And then once you reach that goal one day, where you've gone to the shops, you've come home and you go, oh, I nailed that. And then coming back and going like, yes, that's a new point.
Yeah, for me, this year was all about saying no. And I thought that I already said no a lot of times, but now my no is a real no instead of a no leaning towards yes. So people could hear in my voice that if they push through, I would say yes after 3 times. And actually, this happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was with a boy, and we were about to have sex, and I wanted to use a condom. So he started with, oh, yeah, yeah, you want to use a condom, right? He was annoyed. And I was like, yeah, so get it. They are in my car. And I said, well, no worries. I got one. Yeah, but I just like them a certain brand. Oh, no worries. I got 4 different brands with me because I know you guys. So I came with these 4 different condoms. And then I saw him like, shit, what can I say now? And then after 20 minutes, he was still trying to, me saying yes to not using condom. And then I said, do you know that for those 5 minutes of your pleasure, I have to get tested on STIs and STDs. Maybe I get pregnant because I don't take the pill every day. It's 5 minutes for you. Put it on or I'm going to leave. And then we still did it. And I drove back and I was like, why the hell didn't I leave? Because this is crazy that I have to ask for the condom for 20 minutes. And in the end, it wasn't even fun for me. So, but at least I didn't say yes, where I would, maybe when I was 18, I would have said yes after 2 or 3 or whatever times asking. But it also makes me a little mad because now I recognize how often I have to say no, and not once, but 5 times. So that's a little frustrating for me lately, actually. And I'm also trying to help my little cousin who is 16. She's not super little, but still she's like figuring out everything. And I'm teaching her like, say no. And if he doesn't accept your no, then please leave, or she, or whatever. Yeah, so I'm still learning. I'm also 28, and I wish I had someone that could teach me this when I was 18.
Yeah, that's definitely like just that power in saying no, and actually standing by that saying no for me was such a difficult thing. I'd say no, but then just in general things, if I say I don't want to go out and someone's like, oh, just come out, and I'll be like, okay, but actually I don't want to go out, like it's a no. And I really struggled with having boundaries and setting those and actually doing the things that I wanted to do. And I just felt like I was always getting pulled. My energy was just like always low because I was doing so many things that weren't actually in my best interest. So yeah, I think the power in saying no and feeling like, no, it is a no. This is a no. This is what I've said. It's a no. Is powerful. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? Okay, I think that is that question. I mean, something else I've learned recently in my healing journey is not taking everybody with you on your healing journey, which sounds a bit strange, but it was like when I started healing and learning all these new techniques and getting into like meditation and just different like ways of living, and just I've got quite into like spirituality and like the moon phases and just lots of different things. And it was like I was doing all of this healing, but the friends and circles that I had around me, it was just that disconnection almost, when you feel like you're healing and changing for the better, where you actually feel good about what you're doing, and the people around you aren't actually like receptive to that. It's like, you're changing, this is not how we're used to you being. It's like, oh, you don't want to come and do the things you were doing before. So yeah, that's something that I've learned recently, that healing is a personal journey, and not everybody is going to be coming with you on that healing journey, and that's okay. It's okay to outgrow situations. It's okay to outgrow people and things, because at the end of the day, if you're connecting to what you really feel inside you want to be doing, then that's what it's about, healing. So yeah, I did struggle with that one to start with. I was like, why does no one want to heal, or why does no one want to come and do these things? But yeah, that was something else that I learned recently.
Can I say another thing that I learned that you also it it's also like what you said has been huge. I'm like, yes, no, not everybody comes along with you. That pain is such a teacher. Pain and shame, these are such teachers of our humanity, of it's they're indicators, right? And I have found so much wisdom in how to do pain, how to do shame, how to do these very intense emotions that I spent so much time kind of allowing to implode inside of me with like the self-talk, the really low energetic self-talk, or the behaviors that were spewing on other people, and like how shitty I was to other people and in other situations. And when I realized that it's how do I sit with pain, how do I sit with shame, how do I sit with these emotions that are really downplayed in my culture. I'm a Dominican woman, so it's very much be happy, don't worry about what's happening, or just kind of like let it go. And it just, that wasn't the way that what my body wanted to do. So understanding how to do pain, and it really was a huge part of my learning and my lesson, because in life there is going to be pain and pleasure, and there will be times of embarrassment, and and all of these things. So how do I feel whole enough to hold all of these influx and spectrums of living, was really huge for me, was a really huge learning experience as well.
Yeah, that's so good. I really feel that. I think one thing as well, and I've actually never said this out loud, but it comes down to, for me, just doing whatever the fuck you want to do. And I have to swear, because I swear, and I'm an amazing woman, and I'm incredible, and I'm sick at looking myself in the mirror and hating what I see. But I remember when I went through everything and I was feeling all of this, when I found survivors, or when psychologists or something would say to me, you're part of a community, or there is a lot of people who understand how you feel, that made me feel unimportant. And I don't know why I felt like that. I didn't feel like I had a connection with other people, that they got me. I felt like that was telling me that my voice was less important, just go jump in the pool with everybody else kind of thing, as opposed to it being like you're this person. And I hated that I thought that. And I would sit there in my mind and go, why do I think that? And I think I was crazy. But I think it's just coming down to going, what do I need? What do I want? And it could be anything. It could be a massive night out. It could be, nothing. It could be going out with a dude. It could be anything. And I think that was important for me, to just sit with that and go, okay, in this moment, how do I feel? And acknowledging that I don't need to feel guilt and shame about feeling that way. I just need to acknowledge it so that I can take steps to move forward. And they were things that it took me a really, really, really long time to get to that point where I would acknowledge what I felt and not feel guilty and shame about that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Madi, because I think it's always about coming back to feeling that you're living authentically as well. And Sunita, to mention part of your boundaries and making sure that you're not taking along everyone with the ride of your healing journey. Sometimes that can also mean cutting away toxic family members. So for myself, I come from a generation of trauma and domestic violence. And at times I used to feel really guilty about having conversations, even with my immediate family, excuse me, and feeling really guilty about they don't make me feel good. And if there's people in your life, if there's people at work, if there's people even in your family that don't make you feel good, or leaving those conversations feeling high vibrational vibes, feeling the best version of yourself, then sometimes you just need to step away from those relationships and just come back to them when you need to, because for me this year, after coming out publicly with my story, it's all about being absolutely savage with maintaining my mental health, because for me, that's my number one priority. And I'm completely non-apologetic about that. And if people don't like that, then that's on them, and that's none of my business.
100%. Yeah. Putting you first, and you're prioritizing yourself, like you just say. And it is, I think, when you get to that point, that discovery of, actually, this person doesn't make me feel good, I don't need to be connecting or engaging in these conversations anymore. Once you realize that and cut them out, it's actually such a liberating, you feel like so amazing after. You can see where your energy, anyway, for me, I could see like where my energy was getting pulled. And yeah, even Shushbox as a platform started. So it started actually as like a sex positive page, probably like over a year ago, and it wasn't until probably 6 months ago it transitioned as I was doing my own healing work, because my answer to everything used to be sex positive, everything's great, like I love sex, like it was just, I don't know why, but that was like my way of coping, I guess. So when it moved towards being more to do with healing, you know, talking about trauma, some of the people that I'd been connecting with beforehand, obviously they saw this change. It's gone from being this sex positive page, which obviously, yeah, it's good to be sex positive, but now we're talking about real things. Now I'm going into the things that have been traumatic for me and having these conversations. And yeah, that transition from then to now, and the people that I had around me, it's just totally changed. And it does make such a difference, I think, and I think it's good to just check in with your connections, you know, often, to make sure that they're still adding something to you that's valuable. And I think a lot of people forget to do that, or you just carry on, don't you, with some friendships. You might have them for a while, and then actually 5 or 6 years later you're like, this friendship isn't working anymore. I've changed so much. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to, or not really nice, but it's good to cut people from your life. I got COVID in September, and I'm still recovering. I'm actually with this thing on my belly because it hurts so much. But anyway, and some people wrote me messages, and some friends never wrote me messages, never called me up. And it's been 16 weeks now. And I don't care, because I think in these times, you definitely get to know your real friends. And in these weeks, I got to know Sunita and other people online. And sometimes online friendships are so valuable. And that is something I really learned from these past weeks. It's really cool to have online friendships, and sometimes it feels like you know each other, even though I don't know your height, for example, but I don't know, it's weird. We're like seeing each other, and yeah, that's wonderful to have those friendships. Better than the fake friendships, people from high school you kind of have to, text or whatever.
Totally relate, and everybody that's here, obviously, that's how I feel. Like, it feels like that we've made these connections, even if it is just, DMing here and stuff. It just feels like a support network, and it feels like people that you want to be talking to, and you're watching, like I'm watching it, what everybody's doing, and it's just like so inspiring. And it's hard. Healing is hard work sometimes, and it's just great to see so many amazing people like everybody here. And it does make you feel, yeah, Eva, like you're saying, you meet new people at different stages.
And it's a little less hard when you know that you're not alone. Even though those people live in Melbourne or wherever, it's just, I don't know, it's a little hard because of that.
Yeah, I mean, even the times, it's like I'm so rubbish at knowing what time it is every year. With Madi, I think I was like saying it's one time, it's another time, it's one time. But I think having this it's amazing that we are like so far but so close. And yeah, the power of the internet. You know, there's so many people out there who, for anybody who might be watching or just listening, you know, losing friendships sometimes is not a bad thing, and it just makes room for like positive new people in your life, I think, that make you feel good and that you feel good connecting with.
Can I just add to something that you said earlier, Sunita? Because I feel like it was like a side point of your point, but it was actually something like really important. When you were talking about sex positivity and like you felt like you just went into like sex positivity overdrive, I can really relate to that. And I feel like it's quite a common, like almost like a stereotype of people that have had abuse to then go like full throttle the other way and be like, I am the queen of sex on earth and nothing is wrong and this is sex positive, so don't even try to tell me that it isn't. But the most sex positive thing I ever did for myself in my life was a year of celibacy. So I just feel like sex positivity can be like having sex 100 times a day, but I feel like it's just important to highlight that it's different for everybody. And I feel like, I'm not gonna say I feel like any more times, but I feel like sometimes when you're like just sort of finding these kind of online communities and stuff at the start of your sort of healing journey, and then you see all of this sex positivity stuff, it's like, oh, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? And it can really read one way. But I just thought it was important to mention that like sex positivity is expressing sex in a positive way that makes you feel positive, not necessarily like forcing yourself to fit into a mold. So I thought it was a good point that you made.
Definitely. And I feel, that like hypersexualized, that I was literally like a hypersexual person. Anyone who knew me, sometimes my friends used to call me like sexual Sunita. Like I just used to talk about sex. I was like sex, 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 everything was sex. But exactly how you just said, being sex positive is feeling sexually empowered in yourself, and any action that you're taking, just not feeling shame or regret. I feel like I used to do so many things and wake up the next day and just be like, what the hell, why did I do that? Or just have all this like negative emotion around it. But actually, similar to how you just did, I actually did, as you know, I've been not having sex for a long time, just to reconnect, to redefine what it means to me to be sexually empowered, you know, owning my body, just giving myself that love rather than trying to find it in other people, like in relationships, or that validation of in relationships of being almost like acting in a way that you think is what they want. Whereas now I'm, you know, just starting, I've literally the last 2 or 3 years, I've not been dating, and just, you know, just really, because I was just doing so many relationships in the past where it was just one toxic relationship to another, and it was just a repeat cycle. And just having this time out and really reset, almost like reset, okay, who actually am I? What does sex mean to me? What does it mean to be sexually empowered?
But also what it means can change, right? So maybe like it doesn't always necessarily mean like, oh, that wasn't you, but maybe it's just not you anymore as well, you know?
Exactly, it's just the new version, and it'll probably change as well in the future, you know, it's just constantly evolving. But I feel like now my relationship towards sex, even though I'm not having sex, is positive.
Good.
Sunita, that's a great point. So when I was with my ex-partner who abused me, he actually trafficked me to men. So my relationship with sex was so brainwashed that my body was basically just used to be a piece of me. So it was never about my pleasure. Mm-hmm. So I've got a very healthy relationship now with my partner, who I've been with for 3 years. And it's not until the last 6 months, and actually after coming out publicly with my story, that I've actually started to realize I've stopped being polite when it comes to having sex with my now partner. And that can look like, oh, I have to feel like I need to please him. But now it's about me saying, I don't like that. Or, for instance, giving him a blowjob and going like that to my head. Actually, I don't like that. And to be honest, women in general don't like that. And that empowering to me, because it's me taking back the power and also understanding, hey, having sex with someone is actually about both parties being pleasured, and sex is great, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely is. Like intimacy, there's sex and intimacy. So for me, before, I didn't even know what intimacy was. I was like, well, you know, I can have sex, but sex is sex. Like having sex with intimacy, I think we did a talk about it not long ago, but it was like mind blowing. It's like, oh, when you have feelings during sex, you connect with a person. So yeah, that transition, I think, to having sex, to, like you say, just in a way that you think is going to be pleasurable for the other person, but actually you're not listening to what feels good for you.
It also tells you a lot about the partner that you're having sex with, whether that just be someone casual or that whether that be someone you're in a very intimate, serious relationship with, because my partner's not going to know this sort of stuff unless I have the courage to be able to communicate that to him. And when I started to communicate those things in our sex life, even our communication in general just became like top notch. And when I would relay ways that I felt during having sex, his response to things is just like something you would read in a book, like perfect. And I would just be like, well done. Like, thank you for responding like that. You're an absolute legend, honestly. And it just gave me so much more respect for him as a man. And that was really, really great. And because I was like, okay, I'm with the right person because he's just a legend.
And I think it goes as well when you sit there and it's as much about communicating something that you enjoy, about communicating something that you don't enjoy, so that the both of you can actually get together and have so much more fun. And I think that's liberating in a sense as well, to say no. I hate that, because you're going to be having so much more fun if you don't do that. And then that's also empowering.
Yeah, definitely.
Communication, again, just expressing. It's going back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, just expressing how you actually feel and honoring your emotions, the whole scale of the emotions. Something as well for me, I don't know, I just used to, any kind of like negative emotions, like just kind of block those out. But by doing that, you also block out the positive emotions. So it's like honoring the whole spectrum of emotions. And if something doesn't feel right, sitting with that and communicating why doesn't that feel right. But yeah, I think we kind of went off on a slightly different topic there, but still a good one. So I'm just looking back at the questions we had lined up. We've covered quite a few of them. So obviously it's nearly the end of the year, nearly the end of 2020. What have you been most grateful for this year? So practicing gratitude, if we want to look back at 2020, I know it's been a tough year all round, but has anybody got anything that they want to share of feeling grateful for this year?
I'll go. I've been feeling recently really grateful for my family and like the support that they've been able to give me. I had a really difficult year, especially like August was really difficult for me. I moved out of my house into an apartment since I'm a freshman in college. So it was like kind of like my first college experience. And then I ended up having to move home 2 weeks later because of COVID and medication issues and trauma and all this stuff. Like it was just way too much for me. So I had to call my parents and say like, please move me home. Like I need to go home. Thankfully, I like went to college like down the street from my house, so I wasn't like too far, but still like I was very grateful for my parents and my partner also like being there by my side and like helping me through everything and really like just taking care of me when I really needed somebody to be there for me. It really just reaffirmed like the love that I have for my family and my partner as well.
I would say that I'm really grateful for the Taking Me Back community as well as other online advocates like you. This alone has been so cathartic and just like a really great thing to do. But yeah, so we took a lot more breaks than usual from the account because of extra stress, but like always checking like the DMs or seeing comments that we get, they always remind you that you're not alone, and they're always just a nice, pleasant reminder. So that's something I'm grateful for.
Honestly, I'm actually just really grateful for the rest. Like, which sounds mad, but like a lot of people I've talked to throughout this year, I don't know about the countries you guys are all in, but England's been pretty much closed for like the whole year. And I just kept saying to everybody, you're never going to get this much rest in your life ever again. Even if we're being forced, even if it sucks because we can't work and like there's a lot of shit going on. I just feel so rested, and I'm just like, that is the thing that I feel grateful for.
I agree with a lot with that as well. I was gonna say, like, despite all the roller coaster of emotions and like just everything being on lockdown and all that stuff, I think I was really grateful for the time to kind of refine myself, if that makes sense. There's a lot of passions I let go of, and a lot of things that I would just excuse for not having time. So I was kind of able to see what I like again, revisit old passions, and like Caitlin, just being really grateful for also having the time to just interact more with people online with our page. People who wrote to us and had the time to write to us, we now have the time to fully like invest in those conversations, which was really nice. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for also opportunities like this to get to know new people, and like Caitlin said, it's also been very cathartic and almost therapeutic.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go out there and be a bit selfish. I'm just grateful as fuck for myself. I think this year for me, I have gone through so much shit, and I've been working my butt off, and I've gone through a roller coaster of emotions, but I'm really, really proud of how I've come out, and I've seen in myself how strong I can be. And strong is not withstanding pain or withstanding things, it's just strong with being true to who I am. And that's really come out this year. And with COVID, I think, along with what you just said, it gave you a chance to find and reconnect with a lot of the things that you've done previously and everything. And it's given me a chance to reconnect with those things as well. And just to go to myself, you know what? Yes, I do like going for a really long walk and listening to true crime podcasts. Like, I don't care. And to literally just look at myself and be proud of who I am. And this is the first time in my life I've ever felt that. And I think I'm just grateful as anything to be here and be alive and have air in my lungs and be healthy, and to look at it and go, I've turned a point this year, I think is the point. I had depression and PTSD and everything for so long, and they're still going to be a part of my life, but this year was the first time that I felt proud of myself and true to myself, and walking down the street and being like, I'm a badass bitch. Like, yes, and you feel that, and that's been something I'm really proud of and really grateful for me, not for anybody else, not for how everybody else looks or how everyone else deals with things, but that was really important for me. And I think that's got to be grateful for you.
Nice, Maddie. I think I can really relate to that. It's beautiful that you can say that about yourself, because it starts with yourself, right? I think I'm grateful for my positivity. Since I got sick, people were like, oh, that's so sad, it's horrible. And I'm like, stop whining. Let me just heal from this COVID thing and on to the next. And people are like, but how do you stay so positive? Well, I worked my ass off the last 3 years. I have a journal, I meditate, I talk to people, and whatever happens, I try to turn it into something positive. And so when COVID started in March, I was chill. I was like, okay, this is another thing happening. What can we do to make this time a nice time? Exactly what I think Chani said it. We can rest. So we have all the time to read. We have all the time to be online, to whatever, do what you want. So to me, it has not been the worst year ever. It has been a good year, right?
Yeah, I agree, Eva. I think that without being in lockdown, like Melbourne had, Maddie will know, a pretty hard lockdown. We weren't able to leave 5 kilometres of our house, and literally nothing but the supermarket was open. And you could look at it in a sense where it's just like, I have been trapped in my house. For me, I'm an introvert anyway, so it gave me the opportunity, yes, to rest, but it also made me reassess my life in terms of what is it that I want to do with my life. So this year, well, recently I quit my job. I've been working in it for 10 years. And during lockdown, I started studying counselling full-time, majoring in abuse. And then I created the Thriver Project. So for me, 2021's like looking bright as hell for me, because it gives me the ability to be able to have these conversations with people online, but to also be out there in the community and doing the groundwork to be able to make a difference as well.
And you've got so many people behind you going, yes, that is so amazing. Superwoman. That's so cool.
Thanks, Maddie.
It's funny because I was like, I'm grateful for myself, which was, so when Maddie, when you said it, I was like, yo, we flowing, and for, I'm grateful for myself and death. I experienced a lot of death in my family. This year, I've lost at least 5 close people in my family, and in my friend family, and like back to back to back. And I also, suffered a death of a relationship as well. And out of all of that, I did not even think that what was going to rise out of me was the healing of, the balancing of my feminine energy and the healing of like the masculine energy that I was looking for in the men that I dated, and the women that were more embodying of masculine energy that I was with, throughout my teenage and, now adult life. And I'm so grateful for the depth of those relationships, and also the resilience that it has cultivated in me that I didn't even know existed, for real. And being able to then like kind of little by little push through, with Papaya Om, in this like consistent kind of way, and that sometimes doesn't feel consistent, but it's like it's such a huge difference from the ways that I have kind of abandoned other things that I have loved and have wanted to kind of be my whole self in. I feel so whole, and that's something that I could not have said not even a year ago when the cement was setting, and then I jumped into another relationship. So I'm really grateful, for the depths that I have experienced within myself, and so I'm just kind of just so happy that it has brought me to this moment with all of you. So yeah, I'm hella grateful.
Yeah, everything that everybody has said, I can totally, just amazing. It's just, yeah, I feel like obviously there's been loads to this year, but one of the highs I'd say for me is having that extra time and just being grateful for that time, because there's no way that I would have even been doing anything like this. Literally 6 months ago, I would not have been even speaking about this at all. So that extra time of not being able to see, going back to some of those kind of connections that weren't really adding anything to my life anymore. So just almost having that isolation was like a time to really just be with myself and reconnect with myself, and yeah, just figure out who I was and what I wanted to do. So yeah, I'm just grateful to be speaking with you all. Literally, like, I wouldn't have been doing this if I hadn't have had that time to, you know, start my healing a bit further and getting to this point of now connecting with people like all of you and having these types of conversations. Like, there's just no way I would have been doing this. So yeah, gratitude. I think so. Everybody has shared their grateful moment. So let's look to the next year, 2021. What has everybody got planned? Yeah, maybe we can use this time to kind of like share any visions that we've got, or ideas, or yeah, just plans that we want to do for the new year.
I can go. So in 2021, focusing on the account, Taking Me Back, we want to continue to grow it and learn more effective ways to be advocates for survivors, because just being a survivor yourself doesn't automatically make you an expert on how to support survivors. So just continue learning. I also want to become a certified sexual assault hotline volunteer. They're currently not taking any new volunteers because of COVID, but I'm on the email list, so hopefully that will happen. And I'm doing a little independent study for my women's studies major on tonic and mobility. So that's kind of known as like your flight or fight response in humans. And it's also seen in animals too. So I'm going to look at that and see its implications for sexual assault survivors, since it's kind of like an evolutionary response in animals and humans. So I want to look at that through like an anthropological lens. So that's something I want to do for 2021. Yeah.
Kind of jumping off of Caitlin, also with the account, we want to kind of just do kind of more things like this with like live discussions and talking to survivors and mental health professionals, just because like she said, being a survivor doesn't make you an expert in these things. You kind of become more of an expert in yourself sometimes, but you don't really know how to relay that with other people. More personally, I think during this time I've kind of, again, how I refound myself, I kind of 180'd everything I wanted to do with my life and kind of found something else I want to do. So next year I'm hoping to kind of like start the journey with that, but also after I graduate, kind of giving myself that me time, because even though we had a lot of me time during this year, I was also in school, so that's like a whole other thing, stress to worry about during that. So I think kind of giving myself the time to actually be kind of a vegetable for a little bit and process everything that's been going on, I think that'll be great for next year.
I really want to speak up more, not only about sexual abuse, but also about white privilege. You may not see it, but my mom is Black, or light-skinned, as you would say it in English, I think. So I'm always in between two worlds, and I'm not complaining, but it's sometimes a bit weird, because I would not call myself white, although I'm white, and I would not call myself Black because I'm not Black. But I want to speak up more, and there's a movement going on in the Netherlands as well, with people speaking up, with all these TV. I see a cat. That's funny. Anyway, so I think that's my main goal, and when I'm recovered from this COVID thing, I really want to build my own community, Dutch community, for sexual assault survivors.
For 2021, oh, I got hiccups, sorry. I've got my next book coming in spring, so I've just been working on that a lot really with this time. So I'm really excited about that. And I actually just want to take some of 2020 into 2021 and just keep this kind of relaxed attitude towards life as much as I can. Yeah, that's like my main focus for 2021. Oh, and I want to go on like a world tour. Where are my holidays? Please. But yeah, that's me. 2021 book. So if you follow Celebrate the Book, you'll see when the next book is coming.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so cool. I really want to keep growing Reclaim Me, the podcast, and if anyone out there wants to share their story, I would love to hear from you so that we can interview. And I really just want to build more knowledge around whatever you've survived, basically, and to talk more about it, advocate more for it. And I really relate to what you said, Eva, because I'm a part of the Women of Colour network as an ally, and I found it really hard to be a part of some of these conversations as a white woman because I don't know how to be an ally sometimes. And I'm grateful as well this year for the Black Lives Matter movement, and I want to also look forward to how I can be a better advocate for equality in life, and not just for that, not just for women, but for everybody. I work with a lot of people who are in disability as well, and even for them to be able to have equality, I think for me is really important. So grow the podcast, but also be a loudmouth bitch and call everybody out for their crap.
I'll go next. I'm so excited to see how everyone grows and flourishes. So I just want to say that off top. For Papaya Om, I'm really excited to collaborate more with other individuals that are in the women's sexual wellness space, because it's true, right? We become experts of ourselves, and you don't know everything, and so it's always really exciting to hear new perspectives and to hear it in a different way, because everybody give it up differently out here. So it's always beautiful to just kind of be washed with everyone else's kind of just perspectives and love. And so I'm really excited to do that with Papaya Om, and have more of a kind of clear kind of like outline of what's happening, and just kind of really streamline things. And yeah, so I'm really excited for that. Yeah, so that's what, more collaborations and streamline and shit, because consistency, y'all. Consistency.
Betsy, I love listening to you talk. I think Maddie feels the same. I could honestly just like listen to you all day. I'm like, she is amazing. Love it. For myself, I will become a qualified therapist next year. And then after that, I want to do a trauma course, which I think will really add to being an abuse counsellor as well. I'd like to continue with Thriver Project and just watching it evolve and expand, and to be able to, as you said, Betsy, be able to collaborate more with survivors and watch that space grow. But my number one goal next year is I actually was abused by I went to do self-defense, to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the head coach was my abuser. And so, yeah, that's kind of ironic to do it. And then the biggest threat is your coach who's teaching it. So I haven't done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu properly for the last couple of years. My goal next year is to go back to it in January, and by the end of the year to get my blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that's my number one goal. Yeah, so definitely overcoming a huge fear. I've tried to do it a few times and was just so like fight or flight responses were just through the roof. I had very, very bad triggers. But next year's the year to get my blue belt. So if I can do that, I can do anything.
What a queen. Good on you.
I think my goals for like 2021 are to expand a path to courage, but also focus a lot more on myself. And since I am still like really young, I'm still like figuring a lot of stuff out, like where to go to college and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I want to be able to like have a little fun, you know, like finally like be able to just like be a teenager and like enjoy my final years of being a teenager, like before I turn 19 and 20 and all that stuff. Because I feel like I haven't really been able to fully like enjoy my childhood since I was like abused at a pretty young age. I didn't really get to like have like my ages of like 13 to like 17 at all. Like it wasn't really like fun for me. So I'm kind of just taking like next year to just like have my fun and just be me.
I love that. Everybody has got so many amazing, I think everybody's gone now, but yeah, everybody has got such amazing things for the new year. I'm so excited to watch everything, see it all evolving. And yeah, just so many inspiring, great ideas and yeah, just things to be working on. I think for myself, it is just keep talking, keep speaking, keep a lot, you know, the last 3 or 4 months I have been trying to, you know, do more of these conversations, and it's not always comfortable for me. Like it's not something that I've been doing in the past. It's like getting comfortable in that uncomfortable. So yeah, just talking more about things like this and connecting more with people like you. So yeah, I think next year that's what it's going to be about. Just following on from what a lot of you have said, you know, just wanting to keep raising awareness, connecting with people, and growing myself, and growing Shushbox as well. So yeah, I think that's all of our questions. It's been so nice speaking with you all. Oh, have we got a message here? Somebody has put, wishing each of you here peace, compassion and love. Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's so nice.
So sweet. I'm so glad we got to do this. I'm so glad, obviously, with all the different time zones, places, Madi, I feel like I was trying to connect with you for so long, and then I was like, I don't know how the time difference is going to work. So really appreciate, obviously, getting up super early, and you know, I think Eva, it's nearly bedtime for you. So yeah, thank you all so much. I'm going to be sharing this video with everybody after, so you can all look back and see the fun time that we had. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for setting
so
this up.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, Nita.
Guys.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm trying to like write on it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, beauties.
Happy New Year.
Wow.